both qualified to play at the Paris Major, so we will see them regardless of what happens. But we'll take a look at our map bans to see which map this matchup will be played on. An interesting thing, though, Millenium actually play every single one of their matches in their team house.
Yeah, and there are not actually many teams that have that luxury as of this moment. It's still, Rainbow Six is still an emerging scene.
Yeah.
It's going to take time for all of the different squads to develop to that point. But Millenium is definitely deserving of it, and they put it to good use. So here we go. We're going to be playing Coastline, just like that. Oregon and Villa, the maps played in the previous play day, and Clubhouse, Border, Bank, and Consulate, the banned out maps.
Yeah, we'll see how Coastline plays, because it's been a pretty strong map for both teams. And as you can tell, they played it each once, and they have won it each once.
So similar to one of the matches we had earlier today, I believe on Border, there's going to be a first time for one of these teams. So this time it's going to be an actual loss. Coastline's a good. I think Coastline's a fitting playground for these teams to go against each other. It's not really anything in particular as a map. So it's not like Border, which is super dynamic. You can do pretty much anything on that map. While it has a defined meta, there are many different ways that you can move around that definition, and you can put your own throw on things. Before I get further into this, let's take a look at the community vote. See who you think is going to win. It is not necessarily super shallow.
I really would not put the percentage that high for Penta personally, but as you mentioned, they have the weight of the world on their shoulders.
They do.
And on Twitter as well.
And I think I get it. I do. And it's reasonable. However, I would disagree with how askew this is. I think that Millenium has a solid chance, if any team, to beat Penta in this match. So we'll see how it actually plays out. Of course, when we get into it, we're not savants, but at the same time, that was a little bit unfair.
Yeah.
Anyway, Coastline as a map, it's not too rigid. It's not too dynamic. It's its own kind of way it's played, because the giant hole in the middle of it, and I know it always comes back to that, but it makes it really unique. There's no one mentality that you have to commit to on Coastline, and I love that about the map. Also, it's still not totally defined by the meta. Teams haven't figured out the best way to do everything yet. And
yeah, and the bans, like operator bans, really affect Coastline unlike any other map. Speaking of which, let's just head into the game and see what those operator bans will be as Coastline. Well, being the battleground here between Millenium and Penta, sunny Spain is always a good place to go to, especially in these days. We'll head on in to see who will ban what. And with Penta starting off in the defense, they'll be the ones awarded the first ban. That'll be on the attacker side. And Lion, not surprising. Penta, if anything, predicting Penta's ban on the attack is super easy, especially on Coastline. It's like double just ban the Lion.
They almost always ban Lion. If you've been watching them for a while, you'd know that. It makes a lot of sense because against Liquid in those Season 7 finals, they did really struggle against that particular operator, and they have voiced many times that they just don't like playing against it. An interesting thing about Penta is how predictable they are, yet unpredictable in that predictability. And it comes down to things like they know how to play each and every map, and people know they know how to play each and every map. So how do you play against that? And it's the same thing with the Lion operator ban. Everybody knows Penta's going to ban Lion, but what does that really accomplish, that knowledge? It just means you aren't going to have to deal with a hard breacher being banned?
I mean, the Glass makes a lot of sense to be banned here by Millenium. That we don't want to give Jonas the ability to play that, especially if you're expecting to defend, kitchen stock, or if you're expecting to defend the apartment upstairs in the penthouse. Both of those sites really lend themselves to Glass just having long-range lines of sight to play with. And we've seen players like Zephyr and even Jonas himself doing quite a bit of work on that. Now, that leaves us with very standard ban. The Maestro, the Glass, the Lion, the Mira. Nothing out of the ordinary for Coastline especially. The Echo will be saved here as Penta, of course, are playing on the defense. They're going to start off in blue and silver.
So the double bar is a nice sight. It requires a little bit more coordination in the team than most. It is the most strategically heavy map. So I talked earlier about how Coastline isn't too rigid and is not too dynamic as a map. This is the most rigid, in my opinion, of all of the sites. Now, you could also say Penthouse is probably up there. You know, it's in the running. But I feel like a lot of the times when we see double bar played, it's the same exact thing every round. Now, there have been some interesting mix-ups. We've seen We've seen teams extend themselves into the kitchen. We've seen teams roam heavy upstairs. We've seen teams neglect upstairs on the defense of this site. But it is more predictable than most because it is, again, it requires the most actual strategy.
I like the run-out try there from Kanta Raketti. He takes no damage, and Renshiro will lose out on his first... I believe that was his first shield. I don't know if he had set it up before. And he takes just a bit of damage, spraying from the Alibi. Do it for free, and Jonas will use another angle to take down the only hard breacher available for Millenium. Early on, it's Livin eliminated, and Jonas still preferring the iron sights on the MP7. If there's any weapon really in the game that you'll run with iron sights, is the MP7.
Yeah, it's definitely the best iron sight in the game, and Jonas has always used that well. Now, speaking of using it well, Fabian will use his T5 to get it down onto the Zofia in Office. That's a very aggressive play you're seeing from Penta right now, from both Office and from Security. You can see they're trying to pinch onto these 4 attackers from Millenium, every single one of them inside of South Office. This is an incredibly odd play for Millenium. You have to imagine eventually they're going to try and get their diffuser, rather, that's outside the front door, but one can only hope that they'll choose to eventually make that change. Currently, they're just going for frags.
You'll see Ilrich on the outside of the Capitao. So much damage has been done to Millenium, and it really does destabilize the team so early on, being pushed so aggressively. And you see there's so much time that has just been wasted on a site where more often than not the outside of it is taken very, very early by the attackers, and Hicks try to come in and grab the diffuser. Jonas is setting close up to it. You see that it's been taken away. But at least the Buck will be able to save the diffuser.
Based on how Jonas was playing that round, or that position rather, I seriously doubt he knows he had the diffuser in hand. Hicks will get a very easy kill on Pengu as he is poorly positioned inside of CCTV. Of course, there's no way for him to know that, but now he's dead, so it doesn't really matter. And Shiro gets Kanto as well, and Jonas takes out Jaggers. Hicks onto Jonas, so immediate refrag. Penta now not in a great spot, but they do have a lit Blackbeard, which means a single bullet onto his torso or hand will eliminate him. This is still winnable for Penta.
Now see Goga setting up as well with his Yokai's Rise. Will get one on Fabian, who runs right out in the middle. Goga loves to play the Yokai in the middle of the map, really setting it up on the bars right upstairs, and see them trying to move in against Goga here. He's all on his own. 8 seconds left on the clock. He'll find the shot. No, Renshiro crawling in. So little health, but I guess tiny bit of health is all that is needed as he comes around the side. Blue bar, and it's got Zofia as support. Gets the final kill. Millenium, after a great start of Penta, will put the first round on the board.
So, the way that Penta played that was kind of interesting. They skirted the defense for the attack, pardon me, for pretty much the entire round. But at no point did Penta fully commit to any of their holds. It was really interesting. Usually, if you're going to play inside of Office, you'd play near the indestructible wall in the middle of Office to hold a push from that south door. But Penta didn't do that. They played near Office, but they didn't actually commit to pushing into at any point. They just picked off as many players as they could as they started their push. Now, they didn't pick off any, but they did manage to get one free kill over by the front door. Now, that free kill, of course, was the drop of the diffuser, but Jonas didn't know that clearly by the way he was playing. If he had, he would have opened the front door and called over another teammate to support him in denying control of that diffuser to the attackers moving forward. So, a little bit of a weird round for Penta. They skirted their opponents, never fully engaged, and they didn't know the opportunities that they had, thus could not capitalize upon them due to lack of information. That's not their fault necessarily. I guess more importantly, props to Millenium for a really well executed take. But I still have to feel like, you know, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, Millenium got a little bit lucky with some of the what happened in that round. The way that PENTA didn't fully engage them had potential to get the immediate crossfire and, you know, probably come out on top in that engagement. Millenium played it right though after that, so they saw their opportunities, they saw the mistakes that PENTA made, and they capitalized.
We'll see how Ix and Millenium will try to capitalize on Penta's moving in this round. For now, Penta are not going for run-ups. We saw that earlier on in the previous round with Kenta Rocchetti going off on the Alibi. We'll be back on the Valkyrie, though, this round. You see the hole that has been opened up by Pengu. It's already been detected, so information will get relayed to the rest of Millenium, as Aquarium will be the position that IQ, Rise, will move in. Remember, IQ doesn't have grenades anymore.
Yeah, so it's odd to see Millenium running on. She's still a very powerful operator, but lacking so much of that bite that she once had. And still going to be able to clear out a lot of electronics, and that's the most important thing. That is, of course, why Millenium is bringing the IQ, which makes a lot of sense. Penta is using a Echo and a Legion and a Valkyrie, and if there's any set of operators you want to have an IQ against, that would be it.
Yep.
Right there.
Yes, they are expecting that, as both teams end up with quite a few scrims here and there. Goga, he saved the Yokai there. Yeah, there you go. It's going to be lifted on up. Yogurt's taking quite a bit of damage early on to Jonas. As Jonas just lies down in the kitchen and awaits Yogurts to push into him. He does have Kanto to support his flank, but the walls are unreinforced, and Rise will just continue on, making sure that he takes down as much of the utility as possible. What Millenium are sure of, though, is that they have boxed in a couple of the roamers for Penta.
Interesting the way that Penta is playing this. Yet again, they're not choosing to fully engage their opponents at any interval. They're just now waiting. And it's working for now because Millenium are doing the same. But as the rush actually comes from Kanto onto delivery, he will be lit up, and the attempted counter will come from Millenium. However, they're missing their shots right now. And as such, Kanto is going to be able to reestablish control over Bathroom. No kills for either team, but shift in control regardless. Renshiro from the hallway gets Fabian, and it's looking good for Millenium as they continue this attack, but Goga's refragging.
Yeah, Goga gets another one. How does he do that against the Blackbeard with the shield? You see the hole that has been opened up in the lower floor there. How did only this get opened? I'm not sure, though. Pengu, sure of his shot against one, and then the second one for Goga as it turns to 1v1. It's all up to Pengu now to try and clutch this out with a pistol up close. Pengu reloads the SMG-11, goes up and sprays Hicks, all in the body.
So, Projector working out better than Double Bar for Penta. A couple things in that round. There were some odd plays by Millenium and Penta both. The timing was really... So, I said in the first round, Millenium got a little bit lucky with their timing and the mistakes that Penta made. This time it was the other way around. Millenium had, like you said, they had some of the roamers boxed in kitchen, and they potentially could lock that up and turn it into 2 frags. But the Buck, playing inside a Bathroom, who was locking those defenders down, missed a lot of his shots, and repositioned at the worst possible time, right as Kanto decided to rush into delivery. And you know, it's little things like that, and they add up. Potential kills lost. And Millenium, as a result, lost the round. And when it actually came to the eventual site push, it was a complete back and forth. I mean, it was just a slugfest. Both teams with such high-skill fraggers, it's really hard to say who's going to come out on top there. But because Penta had established momentum early in the round, forcing the attackers into a tighter spot in terms of the actual clock. You saw there at the end it was getting down to the last couple seconds. They had the advantage on defense. So Penta played the objective, and they played it well. Millenium, unfortunately, could not do the same, and that's why they lost that round.
I wonder what was that hole that was opened up in the back theater. Because there was only one tiny bit that was opened up in the reinforced wall. and not anything else.
Not entirely sure. Didn't see who made it, so I can't say. But, you know, see, Projector's kind of an interesting site because some people consider it to be, you know, like the big anchor spot where everyone has to sit, and if you lose it, you lose the round as a defender. But we've seen numerous times where attackers will open up that south wall into Projector and then lose the round following that. You know, even establishing that control isn't necessarily the best thing. So I don't know. It's a weird site. It depends on where you apply your focus as an attacker. If you're able to push the defenders out of Projector and you have people to catch them in that rotation inside of the master hallway, guitar, or on the window, then you've got a good attack. But if you just attack Projector like Millenium did, then you're gonna fall flat on your face.
Yeah, you need multiple angles as usual to push in, and the one directional pushes just do not help at all. If anything, this entire week of Pro League has been, if you want to win, just don't do one-dimensional pushes. More often than not, you'll end up boxing yourself out.
See, the thing is though, that's a fundamental rule of Rainbow Six Pro League. It's been like that forever. You know, and a big thing is, it's like why when Blackbird first came out, he can just dictate an angle. Well, you can't challenge that. And then when the ACOGs got removed from Bandit and Jaeger, now you can't challenge the angles directly as a 3-speed. So it's like that's the sort of those are influential changes so heavily because of how important angle play is in Siege. And yeah, I mean, it's always been like that, and it's more prevalent in Pro League than anywhere else.
Hicks take control of the aquarium in the billiards room. Rise spots out all the equipment, takes it all out, making sure he does not get detected by the Prisma. And he just shoots the base and takes it out. See Fabian set up in the VIP by the circle couch. And it's going to be circling in and around. Now there's a reinforced wall to protect him from any fire coming in from the hallway or from the pool room. So careful here. Rise, though, finds the headshot. Fabian rotating back into the penthouse. Gets his head taken right off.
That was quite the shot there from Rise. I think that was a predictive aim there. He did not know exactly where the player was, but he was aiming at the angle. Something that, you know, you'll typically see pro players do. Well done to him, and now Millenium, with only 35 seconds left, has established man advantage. But you can see the way that Penta is playing. They have not sped up. They've slowed down from what we were seeing from them earlier. They've gauged the fight, and they decided slower is better.
Livin coming in from the side as Renshiro will get a kill again. Taking down Kenta Raketti. Livin diving right up into Jonas. But it does not matter. The Duck will take the kill, and he can't get the second one. Renshiro will go in for the kill. You see Penta set up on the site.
So, Pengu refrags onto Rise. Goga onto the window on Yogurts. A second for Goga, leaving just Hicks for Millenium, and he's pushing in through the bathroom. No time and no position to get those kills. And we will see Penta hold out firm, despite losing some of their satellite players. So that round, interesting for a number of reasons. And again, I said it in the middle of the round, actually. Penta is slowing down from where they were earlier, which is odd because they were already playing rather slow. And this is the adaptability we talked about from Penta, the thing that makes them the super team that they are. They've read that Millenium are playing their attack slow, and thus they should, you know, tone down the aggression. Pardon me. And it's odd because it runs counter to what I would have expected from them. I would have expected Penta to start turning it into overdrive, and in fact, I would have expected many teams to do the same thing. But Penta always knows better, it seems, and it did net them that round win because Millenium lingered. The way that they've been playing has been to, again, establish those angles and look for the fights. But as soon as Penta stops giving them fights, they start winning rounds. And we've seen that now for 2 in a row.
Yeah, and in the past couple play days, I've criticized Kenta Raketti especially, being a player that has his on and off rounds.
It's true.
Some rounds he'll go super aggressive and it will work out perfectly. When it does, it is beautiful. It is definitely a highlight. But when it doesn't, it ends up losing the entire round and really putting Penta on the back foot. And I think after the first round where he went out for the peak and they kind of tried to box in Millenium, the positioning from Penta was just not good enough. But when they came back after that in round 2 and 3, they learned off of it and really slowed down the gameplay into things where, you know what, if we don't have to show ourselves and get aggressive against our opponents, there's no need to. We can calculate the risk.
So, with Penta playing the way that they are, the most interesting thing is going to be how Millenium respond to that. If they're not able to change in this first half of the map, then we will very likely see Penta take the match very dominantly, probably a 4-1 in the first half. Millenium's going to need to find their inner aggression, their inner challenge, and just push into Penta and take those fights. And it's all about timing, really. If you take a fight and you're in the middle of your shift W, you're running at them, then you're not going to have a good time. If you take a fight and you're ADS'd and you're ready, you've got a Blackbeard shield in front of your face, then you're not going to lose that. It's pretty much impossible. It also has to do with the traps that Penta are going to be setting up. You could see that they have these roamers upstairs. Who is in a position to support Cantor as he starts getting pressured from the skylight? Is there anybody? Is he relying entirely on his Prismas? If that's the case, all you need to do is drone him out and lock him down. But in this case, Millenium, yet again, are taking it too slow, and they have allowed Cantor to fall back to the blue stairs, a corner where he can easily rotate down into the bomb site at any moment. And as a result, this is, you know, Millenium not adapting fast enough.
Yeah, Jonas was set up to support Kanto though on the walkway, so he had someone to be next to him. But when you're fighting against players at it's just so far away from you with ACOGs, you see the Capitao on the rooftop. That's not really a fight that you should be able to win at least. But Millenium setting up here on the outside is finally they'll be able to push through their way into the aquarium. That's so much time though that was just wasted by Penta Sports, and this very much slows down Millenium. As you just mentioned, Blackbeard is spotted though by the Yokai. Yogurts will move in with the drone as Jonas will hold the off angle. Rancher will try to peek in. Goga still has line of sight. The instant he has info, he'll be pushing in. A Kanto will find the kill on a Yogurt. Only able to use one of his Capitao bolts. Jonas is well able to contest upstairs in the aquarium as Livin is pushed back low on health. Fabian with one on a Hicks, and now Livin will sniff in a bit of that gas. The beauties have been set in place. Pengu will tap onto Rise to take him out. Now 15 seconds left on the clock. They'll have to walk in from one angle, and Kanto is ready. The pre-open hole works perfectly for him and for Jonas as Millenium will fall.
I have to say, that round was over as soon as Millenium was unable to lock down that alibi in the top floor. Cantor being allowed to fall back, it just cannot happen. Millenium needs to gain man advantage early, else they will not win in a full 5-on-5 slugfest. It's just not going to happen. Penta are planning on that, and they are prepared for that, and they position themselves properly to get the win, no matter how you choose to maneuver in the middle of the fight.
You know what the thing is? Renshaw is always playing the Blackbeard, but he usually plays it in a certain way. He's the guy that comes in and cuts off the rotations between one site and the other. However, if you look at the past few rounds, he's not been able to put himself in that position due to Penta maneuvering around him and keeping him on his toes the entire time. How can he shut down those rotations and allow his teammates to go in for a plant if they can't even walk in and around the site without Penta pouncing right up behind them?
I don't know. To be truthful with you again, I just think Millenium's gonna need to find something, anything. Whether it's find a roamer, isolate him, execute him, or find a part of the bomb site that Penta's not watching. I find that as very unlikely, but possible. They need to find something, a loose thread to pull at from Penta's defense. And again, if they're not able to find that loose thread and really tug as hard as they can before the half rotates, then we will see this go 4-1 in Penta's favor, and they will have significant momentum going into the second half.
To add on your point, this is Penta starting on the defense on Coastline, a map that is considered by quite a few pros to be fairly attacker-sided. On top of that, both Mira and Maestro are banned, two hugely technical operators that, if available for the defense, multiply their chances of victory. So you look at it in crunch numbers, you're expecting the attackers of Millenium to be able to land 3-4 rounds if possible, but here we see the complete reverse.
Yeah. Again, I think that's due to Penta understanding what they're working with, and Millenium still trying to figure it out. There's not really much more to add to that.
Yep.
I mean, Coastline, yeah, sure, conventional wisdom. I feel like we've been referencing that a lot lately. Dictates that this is a defensive, unfavorable side, or map rather. The attackers are going to have the edge here, but it just the best teams are the ones who are able to go against that, and Penta is one of those teams. Now, the way that they've been playing, they've got everything on lock. They have all their ducks in a row, or their eggs in the basket, and they're very well established. Millenium, on the other hand, are just, again, looking for the opportunity. Now, I like their execution here. They've gone for a take on to the top of the main lobby stairs, and here we go. They've isolated that roamer and executed him, and that is Cantor Ketty. Yet again, the furthest from the site, Cantor Ketty, though, finally capitalized upon by Millenium. Massive props to them for finally getting that done. Now, that is the thread. They have to now yank as hard as they can to get this victory. And if they manage to pull it off, they still have a chance in this match. If they can avoid the 4-1, Millenium can still win it.
They have to deal with Penta's defense on the inside as Jonas is still rotating around, moving in by the kitchen and up into the Cool Vibes stairs, even putting himself into Sunrise. Now as he falls back, the battery should get shot down here by Higgs to allow the Havana to open up the side of the site. Goga will be forced back as a bit of fire being pulled onto the Echo. You definitely want to keep him alive as long as possible.
Now, Higgs has done his job when it comes to the vertical play, and that's been allowing his teammates to open up the south wall into Projector, but it's not a whole lot of control. Not really. And you can see Goga still able to play the position well. He gets a single kill and a little bit of bullets into Liven, but he does get refragged upon easily. Liven with the double as well. Fabian goes down. Jonas onto Hicks downstairs, leaving just Pengu, the final anchor. And he's going to use his gas canisters and SMG-12 to try and, or rather 11, to hold this out as best as he can. Gets the Cafetau after the bolts come out. Jonas also gets Rise and a double for Jonas. A 3 for him in the round. What a shot it was. Millenium found the thread. They yanked on it. They had it going in their favor, but they still could not stand up to the lone fraggers from Penta.
Seems like Penta really come into their own when they're pushed back against the wall.
It does seem that way, yeah. I would agree with that assessment. And I think that, again, that's just the individual skill level that they have. Millenium has a very similar level of skill. However, I feel like a lot of their minds sometimes get more preoccupied with teamwork than with actually just fragging. And see, that's the thing. You have to balance it. You can't just say fragging is not inherently worse than teamwork. Teamwork is not inherently worse than strategy. None of this is, set in stone. These things are, you have to be able to rotate them. And Penta is able to do just that. You saw their strategy start to diminish as more and more of their players were eliminated, and they started to rely more on their ability to just frag out. Millenium, on the other hand, you saw frickin' 2v4, and the Cafetau is still laying down smoke bolts.
Yep.
And because of that, he was caught with his drawers down, and an easy kill for Pengu. The smoke bolt landed on Pengu. That right there is Cafetau being preoccupied with his strategy and not focused enough on just getting the kills. Again, you need to balance it.
Penta just realized, because of their experience, exactly when to pounce, and they're expecting, they know Millenium's play style, and okay, you know what, there's time, they're going to play for their strategy play, they're going to try to smoke us out, go for the checklist, and we're just going to pounce on top, and they're not going to be ready for us. And there you go. And on top of that, to mention, great skill, Jonas being able to hit his shots so consistently here in the hallway. There's not much that you can do against that in the heat of the moment. But now we switch sides. Penta Sports are in the attack. Have to go for a take on the kitchen.
So the summary of the first half really was Penta reading Millenium well. Off of the first round, which Millenium did win, Penta realized that in order to get victories, round victories, all they needed to do was play passively. And Millenium never adapted onto that. They never figured out how to counter that play. They were getting close in the end there, but they couldn't make it work in the end. So second half, this is where an entirely huge shift comes into play, and an entirely new style of play will come from both teams. So we'll have to see what exactly it is Penta's going to show us, what exactly it is Millenium's going to show us, and then we can establish a baseline like we did in the first half and get a better understanding of where this is going. However, here's the thing. Millenium are the ones who need to set that baseline, because if they don't get some early round wins here, it's all over anyway.
We'll see if Fabian here can play the Dokkaebi, because I think there was a change in the IGL role within the team, at least for DreamHack. It was kind of a mix between Pengu and Jonas. I'll have to confirm that with their coach and with the team, if this is still the case in Pro League. You know what, Fabian, just holding off the window. This is one part of the equation. Make sure that you have some sort of hold on the rotations of your opponents into the site. The smoke's gonna get pushed into it as Jonas just runs on in and he lands the kill. There we go, staggering the flashes of the Candelas as he runs into the back, but no, Candelas do not hit in the back. Diffuser's gonna get put down as Rise gets one more. Pengu unable to finish, and there you go. We get the kill on Renshiro, 3v3.
So, post-plant situation. Millenium looking for the retake, but they're doing it oh so slow. Pengu will get Yogurts on the flank from the main lobby. Kanto eliminates Rise, and it's all up to Liven, but he will get one onto Pengu, well positioned in the middle of the bomb site. He's gonna have to find two more attackers. One on those blue stairs, and one over by Sandwich in Sunrise Bar. Drone calls out the information, and Fabian capitalizes. Liven eliminated, and Penta will take their first attack round, and 5-1 in their favor. Millenium cannot win this match. The best they can hope for is a draw, but they'll have to win 4 rounds in a row to get there.
Penta starting to run away with this and looking to put those 3 points on the board. Where will Millenium go? Will they keep to the same side in the kitchen, or will they switch off? No, they're going to go to Blue and Sunrise. So assume they're going to be going for an echo play this time around as well. See how they maneuver themselves in the site.
So you know what I noticed about that last round, Millenium? What was Liven doing for half of the round? He was running out of delivery. So what does that tell us? That tells us that Millenium are scared. They're afraid of losing this match, rightfully so. This is an important match against the first and second place teams in North America. It's a huge match, and that's bad that Millenium has found themselves in that mindset. That is the worst possible place to be. They have all their tools that they need. They have all the tools that they need to win this. They're using them improperly. Liven didn't get killed as he was running out through delivery door. No one from Penta shut him down. But it's the mentality. It's not the actual act of what he was doing. It's that Millenium are finding themselves up against a wall and they're lashing out. They're trying to find holes in Penta's defense. And the halves have switched. Millenium's on defense now. They don't need to be playing attack. They need to be playing safe and smart. They're too preoccupied with what they learned from the first half, and Penta isn't going to maintain their passive play going into the second half because they're on attack. They know when they need to shift gears. Hopefully Millenium will get wise of this, and we'll see them bring it a little bit back and lock up these rounds. But it's not looking good so far.
We'll see the ADSs, 2 of them that are set up in the billiards room. I would have expected 2 of them that are being set up for possibly the smoke that's going to be playing in the Sunrise. But
sure, there's a reason.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Hey, you want to put maybe more bodies on the top floor to contest? It's all right. You can put a bit of ADSs upstairs. Zoom Penta as well will be going for more control up top. But the thing is, as you mentioned, Penta are very good at adapting. So the instant they see that there's a lot of utility being put upstairs, they're just going to try and either forego it or come around from the sides and negate the fact that there's so much being invested up and just quartering the last player upstairs and taking them out instantly.
So, Penta's drones determining that there are, yes, roamers inside of hookah and in the billiards bar. Good positions, surely, for Millenium to play, but dangerous ones at that. You could see Penta is going to put Pengu on the tarps in an attempt to catch the long angle through the window in Hookah and possibly get one of these roamers and an easy kill. You also have the Ying inside of Aqua. At any moment could throw a Candela around the corner. Now, has to be wary of those ADSs, and possibly they haven't been called out, so Jonas might not be able to get anything done here. Kanto, the same story here. As a Zofia, he's got to be scared of the ADSs absorbing all of his utility.
Yeah, and he definitely does not want to give that away, though there is nobody in the back. You see the ADSs that have been preset. Everybody from Millenium has fallen down.
I really like this read from Millenium. The fact that they have fallen off instead of staying upstairs, massive props to them. That was the change that they really needed to make.
Jonas moving in to try and contest the cool vibe stairs. Got some drone information. You see Rise even has been called, so a bit of info on the castle's position. The castle, though, will run right into Jonas. Not sure about that decision making there. You already see, I believe, the smoke that rotated back. He'll land the shotgun shell. And instead of going up to go for the extra shell, trying to be safe, he'll get the kill on to Jonas with the gas canister.
From below, Jagert's challenging through the angles, and he will get Cantor Raketti. Fabian, though, refrags onto Liven before being, in fact, Pengu dispatched by Renshiro. Fabian pushing into the south office will get Jagert's as well. A 2 versus 2 now. Goga and Fabian versus Hicks and Renshiro. But Renshiro is oh so lit. Fabian also on a Legion trap, and Goga going for the defuse plant. It doesn't look like the defenders are aware of this. Fabian has distracted the last two defenders and allowed Goga to plant the diffuser. And Renshiro now, on so little HP, is going to be put in the clutch position. Goga able to safely walk out of sight and will get the angle but lose the fight. Renshiro, what a headshot! It was Goga's round to lose, and he will indeed come out underneath.
What a play from Renshiro. Everything was built up to ease Goga into that final defense. Unfortunately, you can't really account for beautiful aim like that. And Renshiro, the MPX, finds the headshot, takes out Goga. A valiant effort there from Penta, but Millenium finally put an extra point on the board. It's been a while, Millenium. Here we go. We head into round number 8, still on map and match point. Maybe Penta can close it out here, but maybe this will be the comeback from Millenium, as right now, the only way for Millenium to escape this matchup with a point will be to tie things up, which means winning 3 more rounds against the rivals.
So I said it before in the round, Millenium made the changes that they needed to make. They, instead of getting aggressive, they started falling back. That said, we did have a couple instances where some Millenium players were getting too aggressive. The castle onto Cool Vibe stairs or blue stairs. That's completely unnecessary. You know, you've lost control of that position. Let it be lost. Hold and wait for the push. Yet, in the end, it didn't matter. The reason it didn't matter was, though, just Renshiro and his ability to clutch. That should have been a loss for Millenium. If it had not been for the headshot from Renshiro, it would have been. And you can see, he's roughing 10 kills. The first player in this match to get to double digits. Sometimes pure fragging power, pure sheer force of will is enough to get you some round wins. But, I'll reiterate, Millenium now have to get 3 more after that one to get a tie at the best.
See how this works out for Millenium. You see the hallway is going to get reinforced, at least one part of it. This will neutralize any line of sight that gets used from the Hall of Fame or from the DJ Lounge outside to peer directly into the hookah or especially into the billiards room. Then you're a bit safer from fire, at least from one angle, forcing your opponents to get up very close against you and contest you from there. There is no Jaeger in this one, so ADSs will not be a problem. Jonas and Cantor Raketti feeling a bit safer with that. Even Pengu with his frag grenades will be very safe in the knowledge of everything is available to be used.
Sweeping for electronics.
So, IQ being brought by Penta. Goga on it. Millennium's playing a lot of operators that are... In fact, every operator, except for maybe Smoke on the defense right now, is directly countered by IQ. So this is going to work out great for Penta, regardless of the distance nerf, regardless of the lack of a grenade. This is a good time to have an IQ.
She's still pretty good at countering literally most of the equipment that is used by defenders. Kanto trying to find the angle here, the rotation, but the Candela will flash him out. His teammate Jonas, though, coming in from the side, taking down Rise. Kanto with one more onto Yogurts, and suddenly, Michael, we find ourselves in a 5v3. Make that now a 4 versus 3 as Hicks finds the C4 onto Jonas, though. It's living down on the floor thanks to Kanto. Low on health, he still gets the kill, and it turns it into a 4v2, all up to Hicks and Renshiro. Goga putting the Claymore down as Pengu continues with the droning and hit the minute 20 mark as Penta set up for a push. The C4 connects Renshiro again onto Kanta Raketti, eliminating the Zofia from play. And this is Millennium really coming into their own, but is it too little too late? Pengu searching for a kill on players below. The breaching hammer being used up to destroy the floorboards as much as possible as Fabian will move in his drone to get information on what's happening in and around the site on the kitchen. And you see Renshiro again, the wall, holding off the entryway into the service entrance here for the kitchen. The calls have come up, so information is very much in the hands of Penta Sports. Renshiro setting himself behind the desk, but that's a standard position to really look for once you're coming in. Grenade's going to get thrown in by Pengu. And does Goga know where the MPX will be coming from? Yes, he does. He'll get the kill on Renshiro, turn it into a 3v1. Hicks last alive on the pulse as he rotates in from the middle. The fuser is going to be set, and Pengu will find the last kill on Hicks. Millennium will go down, a 6-2 victory for Penta Sports to solidify their lead on EU Pro League at the end of day number 7.
So, you asked if it was too little too late, and it was indeed, Gassan. A nice attempt there from Millennium, but ultimately Penta had established such a firm lead in the round already, and there was no recovering.
Yeah, look at that. Goga, support, frag, no matter what you give him as a role, he's on top.
Absolutely. And Penta as a whole, their team really performing today. Well done to them for a 6-2 victory, as everyone expects.
We'll see how this actually happened within the team comms to adapt around Millennium, because you mentioned how passive Penta were playing early on. It's definitely not something that you usually see from the team.
Well, I mean, see, that's the thing. That's the thing about Penta. They don't do anything usual. They do what